on this big, I'm talking about the big picture. The second big picture is something that has been underreported in Malaysia. I'm not sure why, but the second big picture, and this thing that really worries me, is that there has been a complete reconfiguration of Malay politics. Every rule that we understood how Malaysia was run in terms of Malay politics since independence has gone out the window. I think nobody could see that UMNO and PAS would come together, share the same stage, and hug and make up when, you know, the guy who spilled the most poison about UMNO among all the previous PAS leaders is actually Karyawan. He will issue fatwa against UMNO leaders, usually all that sort of thing. And he's the one who came together, kiss and make up with UMNO. So there's been a complete refiguration of Malay politics. In some ways, the Malay politics has completely moved to the right, and it is my observation, based on my interaction with a lot of people, that increasingly the non-Malay segment of the Malaysian political spectrum is now totally no longer part of the equation. And I think that's very, very dangerous. I think a lot of people on this side don't see that, but the reality is that recently after Tanjung PI, when they talk about forming a new model or new coalition, right? I was shocked that there was no discussion about how to accommodate non-Malay interests. It was all about creating a new Rubik block with all the different Malay groups. And I think that is something that is completely new in Malaysian politics. I haven't seen that before. It was always understood that there was always a place, although a small space, for the non-Malays on the peninsula side. Forget about Sabah and Sarawak, they just want to do their own thing. But you know, on this side, there's always supposed to be a space for non-Malays. But when you look at the discussion that was happening at that time, and I've documented it already, so that you know, the non-Malay political space was completely not part of the equation. And I think that is something very new, and I think that's something that should concern all of us. And this is really not about whether you are English educated, Chinese educated, or Mandarin educated, or the middle class. We're talking about a complete breakdown. It's almost like what happened after 69. There are people out there, as we speak, who are trying to rebuild a complete new model for Malaysian politics as we move on. And I think some of the things they want to build is not very good for the future of this country. And it covers everything. I will use a different word. In my years of keeping an eye on Malaysian politics, I've come to believe that there is such a thing as the Malay establishment. There's actually such, and these people operate at a very high level, and they do come to a consensus. They have a certain set of beliefs about what is the core of this country, how should this country function. The reason why they were not able to push through a lot of the plans was that in the late 1990s and early 2000s, this is my take on the situation, they did not account for the rapid rise of political Islam. A new group came out to challenge the establishment, the Malay establishment, and these people were essentially using religious credentials. That group is much more diverse than the Malay establishment, but it is there. And that group is slowly, I would say chipping away the Malay establishment, but both sides are sort of trying to find a way to fit into the interests of each other. And there's a lot of tension between these two groups. It's very difficult, it's much easier to study the Malay establishment because you can actually identify who they are. They're sort of what the Malay version of the Chinese capitalists. But on the political Islam side, I have big problems trying to keep track of who these people are, because they have all sorts of different ideological beliefs. Some of them are very good at masquerading their beliefs, and it is my impression that there's a group of them. They have entered the government 6 months after Pakatan took power, and some of them are very influential in the government now. And that's by-election. Something else will come out. So what I'm talking about is that there are moves by certain people in this country to totally reconfigure Malaysian politics into Malay politics. and then basically they think that it was a mistake giving some space to the non-Malays because of what the non-Malays did in May last year.
I think his question is actually about how it was that UMNO was campaigning for an MCA candidate who actually won.
Okay. If that's the question you ask, my answer is very simple. During election campaigns, right, they'll say anything to win the vote. They actually don't believe it.